Well, welcome back everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Here's part 2 of my worst Cummins conversion ever. As you can see over there, there's the front end of the truck I just pulled off. So I can get easier access to this Cummins motor. And what I have in my hands is literally a mess. There's no two ways about it. After pulling all of this stuff apart, getting the front end off, all the intercooler, plumbing, the actual plumbing, getting down to the brass tacks of what I'm dealing with this motor, it's apparent to me that the truck was a lot worse than I thought. Nothing really to do with the motor per se. However, the actual conversion, looking at the last video, if you looked at it or watched it, you saw how much of a mess the truck was. It's even worse than I thought. So you see a lot of cuts in the frame everywhere for no reason. This entire side of the frame has been just sliced and absolutely diced. This giant piece of angle iron that they used to tie the front end together when they swapped it over to a 4x4, other than making an excellent work table, is absolutely dangerous and should never have been attempted. So I pulled the heater box and the air conditioning off the front of the firewall so I could get to the manifold. I pulled the turbo off. You can see it there, and there's the rest of it over there. I wanted to see what I was dealing with the turbo. The turbo is in okay shape. It needs to be rebuilt. It was had a little bit of dirt in it, had some oil settled into it a little bit. So obviously I'm not gonna put it back together that way. I'm gonna get it rebuilt, order the rebuild kit and rebuild that, and then I'm swapping that over to a different vehicle. I'm going to go a different route with the turbo on this particular motor. I'm going to use a later year 03 to 07 turbo setup with the manifold, so I can have the turbo more down in this area here on the block, closer to the block, a little bit more room with my 81 having the heater box in the same location. It's going to leave me with a lot of clearance issues. So when I pull this motor and I get it ready to go in my other truck, I'll have it back together. I've ordered a lot of new parts. Since I'm going to have the motor out, I'm going to reseal it. Front and rear main seals, new water pump, new belt. I'm going to get a new tensioner for it, new thermostat, take some of the parts off, dunk them in CLR and leave them that way for a little bit, get them all cleaned out. See if I can't mitigate some problems down the road, and definitely plug up everything, get it kind of sealed up, get it to the car wash while it's still in the frame on the truck before I rip it out. I'm trailering it to do that to the shop where I remove everything anyway. I don't do this stuff on my back and a bunch of rocks because that's just a killer. But I'll get it power washed off at the car wash, so I'll have a clean slate to work with, or cleaner slate. This thing is, you can tell how filthy it is. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. You can't walk by this thing without getting dirty. So I got a whole engine seal kit that I'm going to put on it. New turbo with new seals, new manifold, exhaust manifold. I do have a Ford intercooler that I'm going to run for my turbo as a bit of an upgrade. It's going to take a little bit of surgery, but it's not going to be a complete chop cut nightmare that this truck is going to be. Hopefully I can get this thing together in the 81 without too much slicing and dicing, and if I do have to slice and dice, it'll be reinforced where it needs to be so it's not a dangerous wreck. As far as my radiator support coming apart on the 81, I have a 91 Suburban front end on it. It's never been cut up or molested, if you will, so when I go to make any of the modifications to that, it's going to have to be well thought out, certainly. But to give you a better view of exactly how badly this front end was put on. Well, it's a little upside down here. It's next to my Firebird, but to give you an idea of how bad they just went at it with an angle grinder with no real thought as to what they were doing, other than I need to clearance holes. I need to move this out of my way. And then for a battery tray, because I didn't want to order one from LMC, apparently they just decided to spot weld one right into the truck. So that's fantastic. So most of this front clip is completely unusable. It's going to go to the junkyard. I'm not going to bother with a lot of it. I may be able to save this fender. The radiator support is destroyed. There's a possibility that I might be able to save this inner fender well here for the passenger side, but it's got a big cut here as well. They decided they were going to just run the fuel line up through the wheel well rather than actually run it along the frame like they should have, so they cut here. Obviously they spot welded everything in, so it might as well just go to the junkyard and not bother with it. The bed's salvageable for the most part. It needs a lot of help, but most of the stuff in the bed is also going to go to the junkyard. I just don't have time to deal with it, and I don't need these parts. Apparently in New Mexico, a lot of people don't want to drive to go get them, so take them to the scrapyard. Anyway, more updates will be published as I can, and thanks for following along. Have a great day.